And welcome back, everyone, to Pokemon Team Creation Series. Today's Pokemon Team Creation Series suggestion comes from us from Mr. I probably butchered your name, dude. Sorry about this. Mystics the Divining or Divine. Who asked the question? What is Timmy Turner's Pokemon team? Now, I don't believe I have done Timmy Turner yet. I had to be sure about this. I went through, clicked every time I could find Timmy Turner in my in my channel, because if you ever go to at least if you have your own YouTube channel, there is a search function for your videos. You can look through them, and I'm actually gonna double check that right now before I even start continue the video. I'm gonna turn it off if I find out I did do Timmy Turner, and then I'm gonna we're gonna have to wait one more time here. But no, I'm pretty sure I have not done Timmy Turner's Pokemon team yet. No, I have not. I've done Lantern Core form. I have done that, but I have not done that otherwise. So, Timmy Turner. Timmy is an average kid that no one understands. Mom and Dad and Vicky are always giving him demands. But in his room of doom and gloom, I can't remember that line. But in his room of doom and gloom, something instantly, because it's magical little fish that grant us every wish, because in reality, they are his odd parents, fairly odd parents. Anyway, but the problem is Timmy is a 10-year-old kid. He's actually very self-centered and selfish. He'll usually, once he realizes he's screwed up, he'll try to make amends and try to fix things. But he is actually kind of a little brat in many ways. And it kind of only worsens. I've seen the clip where he made a wish where it's like, yeah, I said I made a wish to be 10 forever. Well, how long ago was that? 50 years ago? So Timmy is not that good of a person. But still, what can we do for a Pokemon team if he was in the Pokemon world? Well, to start off, he'd have two repeats, Cosmo and Wanda. Now, what are the Pokemon for Cosmo and Wanda? Obviously, a fairy has to be the pick, but what exactly is the fairy that represents them? It's not that easy to figure out, because no Pokemon has the abilities of fairy and Fairly Odd Parents. No Pokemon, except for maybe Arceus, is that powerful. So I just have to think more along the lines of what kind of fits for that. And the answer to that, I think, is Clefairies. Now, you might be thinking, oh, shouldn't they be Clefas or Clefairies, because he's a kid? And also should know that you can have both a male and a female Cleffa, or Clefairy. So one's Cosmo, one's Wanda. More to the point, though. No, because they are still adults. Cosmo and Wanda are adult fairies. They're not kids. And therefore, even though Timmy is a kid and will have some less evolved Pokemon on the team as we go, he himself, his Pokemon themselves, in terms of what they represent, don't have to be under-evolved, because he himself is a kid. And Cosmo and Wanda perfectly fit that. Now, beyond that, though, it got a little tricky, because there actually isn't a lot about Timmy himself that really works towards Pokemon. He's a selfish kid. There's a lot of selfish kids out there with Pokemon, and many different Pokemon. Great. He can be hyperactive. Okay, that's something I can work with. He does have a couple hobbies and friends that we can pull from. Starting with Mark from Yugo Botamia. Yugo Botamia! Now, Mark was interesting because I'm like, okay, he's kind of a squid octopus thing. I could go a tentacle. I could go Grapplock. I could go Octillery. Ultimately, though, I did want to go more with the actual alien Pokemon that exist. And technically, Cleffa and Clefairy, or the Clefairy line does count towards that, but I went with Behem, because it is an extraterrestrial. Straight out is kind of a UFO Pokemon. Well, not a true UFO, but you know what I mean. It is a Pokemon that is a alien. So I thought that was probably the best to work there. But also, Timmy's someone who just likes being popular. He wants to be popular. And so, he wants to be with the cool, get with the popular girl he's got a crush on, so forth and so on. Now, the question becomes, what Pokemon could I use for that? Well, because of Timmy's age, being 10, that in most Pokemon games makes him primed to start his Pokemon journey. So, what if he had a starter before he even got Cosmo or Wanda? Now, you might be saying, well, why does it come fourth in the list? That's just the way it played out. But what if you had a starter? Okay, what starter makes the most sense for Timmy? And unfortunately, there's like no fully evolved starter I think works here. But because he's popular, because he wants to be popular, I think he would probably go for a mon that represents the popular choice. Charmander into Charmeleon. Now, I do think Charmeleon, because he's probably had this long enough to evolve it, but I don't think he'll ever get around to evolving it to Charizard, because Timmy is also not the brightest kid in the world. But that comes from the fact that he's kind of hyperactive and has probably a bit of an attention deficit disorder. So, a Pokemon that maybe represents something with a lot of energy, a lot of vigor, probably works. Hence, hint, hint, I use the word vigor, Vigoroth. A Pokemon that is very high strung, a lot of energy. Absolutely. And is arguably better than Slacking just because it doesn't have Truant. So, yeah. Now, that being said, there's a reason it's also farther back on the list. These are among his strongest Pokemon. Clefables are not super strong, but they can certainly be useful. No, I knew that if there was one representation of Timmy that we needed to have on here, we need to have something to represent either Clef, the Boy Chin Wonder, or more importantly, the Crimson Chin. So here comes the Crimson Chin. So what Pokemon could I have to be the Crimson Chin? Well, luckily, we do have a giant swole bug that is red and powerful. The fighting type Pokemon, or Ultra Beast, it's a Pokemon, we know that. Buzzwole. I mean, this looks, like the Crimson Chin in many ways, honestly. It's buff, it's powerful, it's red. Now, yeah, it doesn't have a giant chin, but that's such a niche thing to find for Pokemon that I can't just go through every Pokemon, find out what Pokemon has the big chin in the games. So, no, we're not doing that. But still, this is the team that I think kind of works for Timmy's favor. The ones I might change up are Charmeleon and Vigoroth, if someone were to give other advice, other ideas. I also have the idea of maybe plus more Minun for Wanda and Cosmo, not because they're fairies, sadly. They're very small, like fairies, but because they're color-coded, similar to Wanda and Cosmo, although Wanda is pink and Cosmo is green, so it would not be the exact same color coding. But yeah, otherwise, I generally like this team, and as it turns out, it's not a bad team. In terms of weaknesses, this team is only ×2 weak to 2 different types, Steel and Poison. That's it. Like, it's not time. It's, if I were to go by some of the other weaknesses real quick here, like there's Behemoth's weak to Dark Ghost and Bug, but no other mon on this team is weak to Dark Ghost or Bug. Then you have Charmeleon, which is weak to Fire, Ground, Rock, and Water. Nothing here. You'd think Buzzwole, but the fighting type eliminates the rock weakness. Then Vigoroth's only weak to fighting, and nothing else on the team is weak to fighting. Then Buzzwole has all of its weaknesses, but that's really only fire, flying, psychic, and fairies. So it's actually a pretty balanced team. Now, in terms of what the strengths this team has, this team is great against dark types, 3 mon that can just eliminate the dark types completely. Good against dragon because you got 2 fairies. It's decent against fighting because you got 2 fairies and you got a psychic type. Decent against grass with your bug and your fire type. And then decent against steel because you have fire and fighting as well. But, as always, how balanced is this team? And honestly, you aren't going to struggle in Kanto really at all until you get to Koga. Koga, though, is going to be a bit of a problem. Your Clefables are going to be completely out of luck against his team. But you do have BM at that point. Well, actually, Koga is, I believe, in the high 30s, but BM evolves level 42. So you would still have Elgium. You wouldn't have BM yet. But with that said, Vigoroth should still be able to put in a lot of work. Still very physically powerful. Charmeleon, even though it's not going to be able to evolve, still going to be able to have like Flamethrower, things along those lines. And even though the Clefables are probably going to go down, you can still get off a couple hits with them. So while I think it would be difficult, that is a fight you're going to struggle against. It's not going to be the end of the world. But you really won't struggle against Cynthia. You will not have an issue with Sabrina. Buzzwole's not going to be much use. You'll probably get like 1 attack off and then you're done. But that one attack will probably knock out anything that she throws at you. But otherwise, you're not weak against Psychic with this team. Then Blaine should be no problem. Again, Buzzwole's not really in a good state, and Fairy is resisted by fire. But it's not weak to fire. So as long as you have other moves that aren't Fairy, you should be fine. And then you actually Shadow Giovanni, no problem, because his rock types are going to get hammered by your Buzzwole. And then still Vigoroth can handle things like the Dugtrios and the Nidoqueens if it needs to. And plus you have Behem at that point with things like Psybeam or Psychic to deal with the poison type. So you should be fine there. You'll handle Lorelei, no problem. Because it's water and ice is her team. Mostly ice, but with some water. So you should be able to handle that, no problem. You should also be able to handle Bruno without any difficulty. Fighting is going to be completely negged against the majority of this team. Then the fighting type of your Buzzwole will handle the Onix. It's not until you get to Agatha that you will run into a problem. This team has no good answer for ghost types. And she has a Gengar. I believe she has 2 Gengars and a Haunter. Plus she has Golbat Arbok, if I remember correctly. So she's really more of a poison specialist, but ghost, whatever. So the poison are going to take care of your Clefaibles really quick. So there's that. Behem will be able to handle either Golbat or Arbok, but then when the Gengar comes out, it's going to be pretty much neutral. Well, I mean, Ghost isn't weak, but it's neutral to Psychic, so they can still get hurt. But the minute any dark Ghost type moves come out, your BM is going to be in trouble. Then you're stuck with Vigoroth, which is normal and immune to Ghost at least, but unless it's got a non-physical fighting or normal move, it's not going to matter. Charmeleon can get some damage in, and Buzzwole, as long as it's not a fighting type move, can do something, but it's not going to be easy, to say the least. Now, if you can get past her, though, which is still possible, I think, you can beat Lance without too much difficulty. The Clefaibles alone are going to just wall those Dragonairs. And then that leads you to Blue, who starts out with Pidgeot. Might take you a little bit to get through the Pidgeot, then the Alakazam. And then you got to also deal with a Rhydon, which that one with Buzzwole should not be any big issue. But then you still got to deal with the Grass, Fire, Water combo, whatever it may be. Actually, no, I'm sorry, not the Grass, Fire, Water. No, it's a Grass, Fire, Water combo. I was thinking Electric, but it's not. Either way, it's none of this is impossible. I think Kanto is a firm maybe that you can become the champion with. And then you have to and then you go to Johto. Johto, though, was kind of a flat no. Why? Well, you're not really going to struggle with most of the gyms. The biggest gym's going to give you the biggest problem is honestly going to be Whitney. Because even though she's got Milk Tank and it's going to take down your LGM pretty quick, you'll still be able to have fully evolved Clefaibles at that point because that's the way it works. They're stone evolutions, so you don't have to struggle and wait for them to evolve. And they got enough bulk to handle Milk Tank, I think. And then the rest of the gyms really aren't that big of a struggle. Even with your gyms that do have strength against your other like your Clefaibles, like the Steel Gym, you've got a fighting and a fire type to handle them. Plus with the ice, Claire shouldn't be that big of an issue. No, it's not until you get to the Elite Four and past Will that you run pretty much into the wall. Elite Four Koga is not a team this team is designed to handle. Why? You have Crobat, which outspeeds every single goddamn thing on this team, and is strong against 2 of them just from sheer poison alone, and then the flying type advantage has over Buzzwole. You have Mux, I believe. No, so you have Ariados, which luckily you can handle Ariados and Fortress if you need to with Charmeleon, if Charmeleon isn't dead at this point. Because you also still have Muck on this team, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, I'm going to actually get his Johto team up here right now because I need to be certain of just what you're dealing with a Koga team. All right, here. So let's see. Heart, Gold, Soul, Silver. Kyogia. There you are, Koga. Or there you are, Elite Four. All right. So okay. Yep, no, he's got Ariados, Venomoth, Fortress, Muck, and Crobat. Now, the Venomoth and the Ariados, and arguably even the Fortress, as long as you got Charmeleon still around, isn't going to be that big of a problem. But the problem is is that the minute you have Charmeleon out, he's going for either Air Crobat or Muck to take that thing down. Probably Muck for the bulk, and you don't have an answer. This team does not handle poison types well. Not only does two of your bigger hitters in terms of Clefables weak to poison, you don't have anything except for Behem that's strong against poison. And even still, half of that's bug. So, like, Behem can only put in so much work on its own, and Crobat is faster than that thing by a mile. So, BM and Charmeleon are going to put in a lot of the work, but there's a good chance that Charmeleon's also not fully evolved, so it's the stats just aren't going to be up to snuff in the long haul. So really, I don't think it looks good for you in this lineup. If hypothetically you get past them, yeah, you would be able to beat Bruno no problem. Karen's a dark type carrier, so you're not going to really struggle there, except the fact she also does have Vileplume on the team, as well as Gengar, and that actually is problematic. And then you deal with Lance, which Lance's Dragonites wouldn't be a problem because of the Clefables, but the fact that he has Aerodactyl, and Charizard, and Gyarados, something that you have no strong, things that you just don't have strong answers for at all. Yeah, you would be you'd be in some trouble with Lance as well. So no, I don't think he can be the champion of Johto, long and short of it. And I'm going to cut to the chase right now. You're going to struggle immediately with Watson, of all people, because you're dealing with steel types with the Magnetons, and one of them has Magnet Rise or Magnet Pull, whatever. If there's a steel type move, he's actually going to take down your team. I don't think you get past Watson. Roxanne, no real issue. Brawly, no real issue. After that, Flannery's also a problem because Fairy is resisted by fire. So no Fairy moves are going to work. You're still going to have an Elgyem, not a Behem, and Charmeleon's just going to be neutral. Then you're going to have to deal with Norman, who's got slacking Vigorots, and you have nothing good. You don't have Buzzwole yet. And then you got to deal with Winona, who's a flying specialist, and therefore your Buzzwole is actually going to be, unfortunately, at a big disadvantage. Altaria might be a Dragon type, sure, but Dragon Dance and Earthquake we know is a problem with that team. Even if by miracle sakes, you can get past the majority of the rest of the gyms, which I don't think you can, you would still have to figure out a way to beat the Elite Four, which I kept saying Nate, it's Sydney, not Nate. But Sydney, yeah, you should be fine with Sydney. Dark type, you got 3 mon that can handle that without too much issue. Ghost, you're going to struggle hard with. Galatia, you shouldn't have that much of an issue, I don't think. But then Drake, even with the fact that you got 2 fairies, he's also got Flygons with Earthquake, and Kingdra, and Mega Salamence if we're maxing him out. And then you got to deal with Steven, who even with your Fire type, who's under-evolved, and your Fighting type, who's an Ultra Beast, is still going to cleave through a giant chunk of your Clefables, or no. His Skarmory is neutral to your Fighting type moves on Buzzwole. So Hoenn is a no-go region for this team. Well, what about Sinnoh? Honestly, there's not 2 issues. Your stopgap at Gardenia. She has 3 mon, Roserade, which is fully evolved, and has Poison Sting. That might not sound like a lot, but when you only have 2 fairy types, and you have Stab, Poison Sting on a fully evolved Pokemon like Roserade, not to mention you still have to deal with the other 2, the Cherub and the Cherubi and the Turtwig, you're SOL. Like, that's it. Even if you could get past everything else, you're going to run into a roadblock with Aaron, because Aaron has Beautifly, Dustox, Bug types, which you have 1 mon on the team that's good for, Combi, Heracross, and then Drapion, who can come in and wreak havoc on the Clefables, wreak havoc on the Charmeleon. Yeah, no, you couldn't become the champion of Sinnoh. Unova, Black and White 2, you're stopped at Roxy. Poison versus you're just done at Roxy. And weirdly enough, even if you got past her, which I don't think you would, in both Black and White 2, you stop at Berg. Because he has a Whirlipede with Poison Tail. And you only have a Behem that's not evolved. or sorry, an LGM that isn't evolved. And it's bug. So you're screwed in black and white. Now in Kalos, honestly, there's not too much issue with Kalos. Honestly, you would start to run into a problem once you hit Valerie. The fairy type gym leader would actually be somewhat problematic. This is just due to the fact that your big hitter is not going to be able to do anything. So beyond that, though, you probably could get past her. Honestly, you would probably be able to get past the majority of the other two gym leaders, no problem. Although, what was it, Luminia? The psychic type gym leader, she might be a little problematic. But Buzzwold's guy, I think, is beefy enough, especially with some physical bug moves, you should be fine. Honestly, it's once you get to the Elite Four that you run into another roadblock. Now, Drantha's not the issue, but the Fire type Elite Four member, that's a bit of a problem. And Winkstrom, being a Steel type gym leader, or Elite Four member, somewhat of a problem. Charmeleon, again, can only do so much work, and half his team is resistant to fighting types. So, problematic. Then, if you're going into, say, Diantha, the Clefable should actually be able to handle half her team without issue. Mind you, half that team has other moves besides fighting. So, Halucha, for example, can still hurt you. I believe it has, X-Scissor, right? I believe it has X-Scissor. Let's get Diantha's team up here real quick so I can confirm that. X and Y. Her team, I think, is a little slept on. Like, it's not amazing. It's not like the top 10 gym or top gym leader teams ever. But I think what people sleep on with her more than anything, sleep on her is because her character isn't that good. Yeah. This thing has poison jab too. This Halucha, your Clefables are going down. One Swords Dance and a poison jab, this thing's taking you down. So then you gotta basically deal with that. So you're gonna have to go into probably your BEM, and unfortunately with X-Scissor, that means it's going down. So you're already down half your team before you even get past the Halucha. Buzzwole has to come in, and even still, Flying Press should still be able to do something, but you should be able to take it down with Buzzwole. But then she's gonna bring in Tyrantrum with either Earthquake, Dragon Claw, or Head Smashed. Even if you take that thing down, she's then going to bring in Aurora, so she should be able to take down. But then she's going to bring in either Goodra or Gorgeist, and the Goodra is a wall, so you're not getting through that. That leaves you with Vigoroth and Charmeleon. You can't beat Diantha. You just can't. Galar, honestly, you're really not going to struggle that much. Clefable can get past Milo, the 2 can get past Nessa, the 3 can get past Kafu. The 4 of them should be able to get past B, but Alistair would be a problem. You're not really all that designed to deal with ghost types, so Alistair could be a problem. But after that, Opal, Piers, not that row, but you know, the mother-son duo, the rock and ice types, you should be fine. Raihan, even though he's got dragons, he also has rock and he has ground. And a dragon steel, which means any fairy moves are neutralized. Not like they still hurt, but they're not super effective anymore. And that thing that Gigantamaxes. So you have to bring out Buzzwole to deal with the or not Dragonpult, what am I thinking here? Duraludon. You got to bring Buzzwole to deal with that. Because Dragon's going to resist fire, so Charmeleon's no good. And it's going to die Gigantamax. So it's not impossible, but it's difficult. And then Leon is just a no. It's just a no on Leon. Because, honestly, the Aegislash alone can take down both these Clefables no problem whatsoever. Let's see here. Hold on. Sword and Shield real quick. Because I always got to get the moves list on Leon. Because, again, that Dragonpult alone is usually a team sweeper. Even if you got fairy types on your team, that thing is a team sweeper. And now everything is paused. Like, everything is struggling to... There we go. I just had to do something real quick. But yeah, where is it? Where is it? Champion comp? Let's see here. All right, then. Leon's teams. The Aegislash comes equipped, if you will. It's not equipped, but, it comes with King Shield, which is a better version of Protect, Shadow Ball, Sacred Sword, and Flash Cannon. So... you're going to get flash canned a lot. Yeah. So not good. Not good. Now, you probably will try to bring out the Charmeleon to deal with that thing, and most likely it will. Unfortunately, you're going to lose you're losing at least one of your Clefaibles. Then but here's the thing. He's a smart player too. He's not just going to bring out Dragon Ball. I believe, because I think his AI will, I think he saves Charizard for last always, but he will bring out Mon accordingly. Even if he does bring out Dragon Ball, the thing's equipped with Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, Dragon Breath, and Thunderbolts. I know why they didn't give it its signature move, Dragon Darts, because if they did, it'd be busted. Like you would not be saved. And that thing's honestly gonna cleave through almost everything on your team. Like that Dragon Bolt is just gonna end you. So yeah, there's that. And then finally, we got the Paldea. Now, luckily, you should be able to handle most of the gym leaders in Paldea up until Rhyme without too much difficulty. But the problem does come into play that Rhyme being a double battle specialist and a ghost type specialist makes her a bit of a tricky individual to deal with. Because Katie's not going to be a problem for Clefable. It's just going to be a fully evolved Mon for first gym, really, with who Pokemon only have 2 moves each. Same with Grass. Iona's not going to be any worse. Yeah, it's not till you get to Rhyme where you run into problems. Because not only do you have a Ghost type, you have a Ghost type Fairy, and you have Toxtricity with Ghost type moves as well. That has Discharge and Hex. Now, luckily, this team isn't weak to, Ghost this team's only got 1 member weak to Ghost. Not weak to Electric, but the point is the fact that Buzzwole, one of your heaviest hitters, is useless on this team. It's Bug-type moves. Ghost resists Bug, if I remember correctly. I think. Either that or it's Bug. One of them actually resists the other, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Ghost resists Bug. Let's see. Yes, Ghost resists Bug. So your Buzzwole is completely out of luck. And then you got to still figure out how to use your Vigoroth if you can. You might be stopped at Rhyme. And if you're not stopped at Rhyme, you're honestly going to be stopped at Larry in the long run. Because Rika will be problematic with the ground typing. Definitely. You might get past her. And if you do, Poppy will be no problem with the steel typing between Buzzwole and Charmeleon. But Larry's flying will get through Buzzwole, who's your heaviest hitter. And after that, it's just a matter of picking off the weaker members of the team. Even be he with psychic moves, Vigoroth and Charmeleon, they're not going to be able to do much. So yeah, the only region where it's a possibility you could be championing with this is Kanto, really, in the long run, I think. But this is just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.